Hey y'all, I wanted to come back to you with an update on, well, not really an update, a review of Reasonable Doubt. I don't think that I'll be reviewing it like episode for episode. So what I'll do is with this one, we'll go over episodes 1 through 4. And it'll just be an overview of my feelings and what's going on with the show. So we already reviewed episode 1 where we were introduced to Jax. She works in a private sector, but she's a criminal defense attorney and criminal and civil. Well, she started off as a public defender, and it's pretty much one case that's always looming over her, and it really pushed her to go into the private sector, and that was the case with Damon Cooke, who was played by Michael Ealy, and that is a case that she lost where he was falsely accused of murder, second degree murder, and he's been in prison for like 16 years now, and he takes a plea to, admit to the wrongdoing so he can get out. Mind you, at this time, we're also dealing with Jax going through marital issues with her husband, Lewis. It kind of seems to be that, they're growing apart. But as the show goes on, it kind of alludes to maybe this relationship has run its course because it's supposed to be given to us that this really wasn't the man that she really wanted. Not saying that she never loved her husband, which I do believe she does, and they have their own interesting relationship. Even the fact that when she had sex was supposed to be the security guard, and her husband watched it, and I don't even think he was like upset. Like kind of like enjoyed it. And then I think it was episode 2 or 3, whichever one, but they go out on a date, and they get back to the house because they're living separately, and the kids are splitting time between the houses, and they're supposed to be deciding if they're gonna try to make it work. And so they went to like this bar, and they went to see, I believe, his brother, Lewis's brother, perform. And he's a great singer, but from what they were saying, the song that he was singing, he always sing that song. And then she pulled she was like, "This is Sunshine Anderson." Heard it all before, and I was like, "No, you didn't." Like, I get it, but it was all, I was like, "Was that a little bit of shade to Sunshine Anderson?" Because she does have like that one hit song. She has other songs, but everybody knows Sunshine Anderson for Heard It All Before. And they get back to her house, which is the house that they shared together as a family. And they get to doing it, and they getting hot and heavy, and he tells her he wants her to turn around and face the camera like she was when she was with old dude. And that kind of just spoiled the moment, because she was like, "You just always got to control everything. You gave me an ultimatum: choose my career or spend more time with you." Anyways, the moment is ruined. Jax is close to her mama. It appears that she's the only child, I believe. Yes, she is the only child, and her mama is like, "Girl, you need to, get your man back. That's a good man, Savannah. That's a good man." Because it's not implied that he cheated on her or anything. It just appears that they have grown apart. In her career, she is like a take charge. Some people probably call her a bitch at work, but she's a boss. She's very for sure of herself, knows what she's capable of, and doesn't apologize for that. And I love that part about her. That even in her career and around these men, especially these white men, she's not making herself smaller. And we see that in how she's handling the case with Brayden Miller, who he at first wanted Rich, who's the white male leader, not the white male, the white male lawyer. And I don't think he normally does criminal cases, but we could tell from episode 1, before when Brayden before when the NDA, when it was just kind of like a him versus her case, now it's turned into a murder case. Now, I think before he was like, "Girl, I don't need you. You just a woman," or whatever. But now that it's a murder case, just like Jack said. Now you want the black woman to come in and make it look easy and make it clean it up for you, because now you're gonna go through the angle of, this innocent black man who was worked very hard and he's very successful, and they just want to take him down. And that's just kind of that is kind of the angle that they're going with his defense, because we learned that yes, Kalisha's the woman who was murdered. Kalisha once worked at Brayden's company. Brayden is played by Sean Patrick Thomas, and I have I have an affinity for Sean Patrick Thomas, just simply because if there's anybody I remember being my first celebrity crush, it was Sean Patrick Thomas when I saw him in Save the Last Dance. So every time I see him, I'm like, Derek! And especially later on in the episodes when he speaks, he's at this like charity event where he's speaking about his past and really trying to have a good photo op to woo the public. The way he was talking, I was like, all I hear is Derek. I'm sorry, all I hear was Derek from Save the Last Dance. But Kalisha, it turns out that him and Kalisha were in an affair. Well, they were having an affair, and he was in love with Kalisha. Mind you, he's married to a white woman, and it almost kind of feels like, did the writers write that he cheated on his white wife with a black woman to kind of redeem him? Because if it would have just been, oh, this black man who's trying to become a billionaire, right at the cusp of becoming a billionaire, because he was thinking about selling some of his company, and he has his white wife, it's almost given, well, you thought you could be only successful with this white woman, but no, let's have you sleeping with this black woman that you fell in love with, and then she comes up dead. And she herself was married. You know, they say married people be cheating with other married people. It's an easy cover up. And throughout the episodes, we see where Jax is really going to try to work the angle of endearing him to the black community, and especially amongst older black women, because they feel that's the audience that feels like he's kind of drifted away. But come to find out, I don't think he ever really was that close to the black community. Kalisha had helped him get closer to the black community to sell his products through marketing, but they're going to try to use that angle now, and then we see it through the jurors that they're picking, who is kind of buying it, or who is very much so like leaning towards law enforcement, aka like MAGA and stuff like that. And we see that in how they're trying to pick the jurors. In Jax's personal life, by episode 2, Damon gets out of prison, and Jax speaks to him. She goes to see him in episode 1, and she's like, "Don't ever talk to me if you're going to admit to a crime that you didn't commit." But she ended up going to see the Negro at the halfway house in episode 2. And throughout episode 2 and 3 and going into 4, we see where we're getting flashbacks, and we see where we see where Jax does have a deep affection for Damon. And now that he's out, she's not really wasting much time in getting back in contact with this man. They went to the beach. They went to this coffee shop. They met up at this coffee shop, and he went to the beach, and she was in her suit or whatever. And he was like, he wanted to get out of prison because I think he said there was another man or whatever. He realized that he's going to be in here all these years and be in a prison across from a beach or whatever, but never actually get to the beach, or don't even learn how to swim and things like that. Like just simple life things that he wants to experience. And he knew that he wouldn't be able to have them in prison. It is very much so given that Jax, she wants to fuck this man. And I think she wants to entertain the idea of getting with him, but on the outside, it's gonna look like, girl, you a criminal defense lawyer, and the first thing that you would do is hook up with a convicted criminal. Granted, we know that he didn't commit that crime, so I think that also is something to another like foreshadowing thing with how these labels are put on people by these criminal justice systems are really societal norms, and they're really just titles and they're labels, but yet we put so much um stock into them, what we all collectively believe, and then we decide what's going to be this person's future once they have this thing on them. And a lot of times it's not even really their burden to carry. It's not their scarlet letter to carry, but they have to. And because of that, it really truly changes the trajectory of their life, the things that they have access to, the resources, the people that they will encounter. It really will change their physical being, even possibly their spiritual being, and how they get to show up in the world. And we also see Jax struggle with her home life with her husband and her kids. Her son really is, you can tell he on his daddy side in the sense that, he's a preteen. He is disrespectful, I would say. But I also feel as if Jax is at this point where she feels as if her career, her home life, her marriage, everything is making her feel like she has to choose. So she's like, well, no, I'm going to be direct. I'm going to be in charge. And I do feel as if she can approach the relationship with her son with a little bit more tenderness, because he's already like agitated. She's agitated, and it's just two agitated people coming together. He's already going through that preteen age, and it's like that's just going to exacerbate it. And then her daughter, who is younger, she's still very much so close to her mama, and she ends up going through some things as well. I think she gets her period, and she's only 10 years old, which is so interesting because it probably has a lot to do with the food and the society and the things that are going on in the air that is impacting and really changing changing, like, I guess, the human makeup and how fast you were going through things. Her friends as well. One of her friends, Chanel or Chantel, who's married to the football player, she going through her trials and tribulations because this nigga is cheating on her. Which I feel like if you were a professional athlete, you just gonna have to accept that you're gonna be cheated on. Like if if you want to be successful and long standing in that relationship, you're gonna have to figure out another deal breaker. Because if you think a professional athlete that uses their body to make money, and a part of their career is for them to be attractive and alluring and for the public's consumption, baby, you're gonna be sharing that man. Whether you want to or you don't want to, you're gonna be sharing him. And we also get that I feel like Jax, the men around her, especially in the workplace, their egos are so fragile, including the like I would say like the co-chair of Clout, the company that Brayden has with him, this white guy. You can tell that I think Rich, the other lawyer, I think he's like stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think he wants to assert himself, as being a lawyer and knowing that he's capable. But I think he also is he's very confident in Jax as a lawyer and with her taking the lead. But it's like the men around him are kind of like putting in his head, so you're just gonna let her take charge, you're just gonna let her take over. And so now it's causing him to like undermine her in a way. So as she's taking over and really put him putting more energy into the case, it's like they like kind of getting him to undermine her in a way. And because she's just so like, I'm gonna win this case above all means, I think she does do it in unorthodox ways that when it comes to the women around her, especially the black women, like her assistant, I think a lot of times they kind of see her as like not being woman first. More so, I don't even know to say man first, more so just like win first. Like, no, I won. And we also see that kind of play out with Kalisha's good friend or her cousin, who is dead set on she's dead set on that Brayden killed Kalisha. But there's evidence that is there to diffuse that she actually did sign that NDA at the last minute. So he really didn't have a motive. He was much more emotionally invested in her than he wanted to let on. And he's very much so, I would say, disturbed by her murder. Even when they're leaving out of the even when they're leaving out of the office, he stops by what was once her old office, and he's looking over her things. One moment. And he's really distraught over Kalisha. And we see his wife, petite, kind of, I would say she looks like the white woman who would be with the man of that caliber. And it almost kind of does seem like I'm not saying he said he got with her, she helped him out when he didn't have anything, but it's also feeling like he got with her because of the aesthetic, the life that he wanted, the access and the level that he wanted to reach. This woman will make it easier for me to transcend, even if I may not be attracted to her. And then, so as the case is going on, it's coming out that this was like an affair. Like, we see videos of them kissing in the elevator, and of course she doesn't really want to be bothered with him. And mind you, Kalisha was married and separated from her husband. I believe Brayden's wife had something to do with Kalisha being murdered, because we're starting to learn that she knew about this affair before it came out. And I'm pretty sure she felt some type of way about it. Um, and then we also see that the defense attorney, he's going to argue this case, and he's going to use this as a way to get him like into the mayoral seat with political ties. And Kalisha's friend, well, her cousin, one of her cousins, the cousin with the braids, she feels as if Jax kind of betrayed her, because at the beginning, it was kind of just reading that it was Brayden, and Jax was open to her, like, okay, get you some legal counsel, everything to put in place. And she was upset with Jax. She didn't want to, mess with Jax. She was like, you're defending him. And at first, Jax was not defending him. It was all Rich. But when we see more evidence come into play, that it's not all what it seems. And I feel like Jax is the type of lawyer that really likes to get into the nitty gritty and really likes to win cases that feel like it's going to lose. She becomes his lawyer, and so her cousin finds out, and then of course she's upset with that. Her she has like an investigator, little Asian dude. You could tell like he's trying to be down, but he's not trying to be down in like a weird way. It's kind of like a little corny way, like he's trying to feel included. And he's down to get into the nitty gritty about the investigation, and end up getting his ass whooped because Kalisha had another cousin that she was helping out, and I think she had some petty theft charges. And so I think her boyfriend, the cousin that he was supposed to be surveillancing, figured out that he was surveillancing them. And they whooped his ass when he tried to pull up at the little pawn shop to get this laptop that Kalisha had with I guess the top secrets from Clout, to really try to figure out what it was that Brayden didn't want to get out. But so far, I really like this show, even though it came out before All's Fair. I really enjoy how they're taking one case and building with it throughout the season. And it really makes Jax feel credible as a lawyer. It really makes her feel credible in her career. It really makes the show credible in the actors. And granted, this is a completely different show, but it still has that nitty gritty. It still has like the sex elements. It still has, like, if you want to get into it, you still keep that, but it still has authenticity and believability as far as the storyline. So we'll most definitely be getting more into it. I might have left out a few things, but I will be looking over, I think it's like 8 episodes. And so I'll come back with another about 5 episodes, 5 to 8, my review. and I'll post that up for you all to see. So if you do enjoy it, like, comment, subscribe, and also just get in the comments, interact with me. And if you saw something that I didn't pick up on, let me know. And until next time, bye.